catch 'em all.
Hey guys, PokeDan here. When it comes to making Pokemon games, generally the creators over at Game Freak have a set of guidelines of which they have to follow. Things like making sure the starters are a certain type, or that the villainous evil team have an interesting evil plot, and even that the Pokemon they introduce have the correct typings. In the games, as I'm sure we all know, Pokemon can have a maximum amount of 2 types. However, that doesn't stop their designs, origins, or Pokedex entries suggesting they could potentially be a part of another type. Recently, I had a comment on my channel highlighting this topic, so I wanted to find out all the Pokemon I think could have a triple typing. So in this video, you join me to talk about those Pokemon that could have 3 types. Now guys, I know that Pokemon having more typings would make the franchise more complicated than it needs to be, and that it would probably never happen anyway, but this is all just fun speculation nonetheless. So I hope you guys enjoy. Also remember guys that this is all in my own opinion, so if you feel like there are any that I missed out on or disagree with any of my choices, be sure to let me know down in the comment section. But with all that being said, let's get started with the video. So first up, we have a bunch of bug-type Pokemon who have the capability of flying. And if triple typings did exist, basically I think these Pokemon could all gain the flying type. There are quite a few of them, so let's start by shouting out some names. The Pokemon I think could gain the flying type are Beedrill, Dustox, Heracross, Venomoth, Volcarona, Vikavolt, and Ribombee. Simply said, either in the anime or just the games in general, these Pokemon have been depicted to be flying, so adding this type in the future would be pretty logical. Next up we have Gengar, and admittedly this one may be a bit of a stretch, but I think that as well as Ghost and Poison, this Pokemon could also be a Dark type. I say this mainly because of its horrific dex entries from the Gen 7 games. Reading some of them, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Gengar did get retyped. I mean, some of them are truly terrifying. Smoochum and Jinx are 2 Pokemon I could also see gaining a 3rd type, and that type is of course Fairy. Okay, so for this one there's not really much of an explanation to it, but these Pokemon just look like they would fit in with a lot of the Fairy types. Sue me for thinking these things look magical, but I do. Next up we have 2 Kanto Pokemon who many would agree could do with gaining the Dragon type, and these Pokemon are Charizard and Gyarados. In Charizard's case, this Pokemon got redemption when one of its Mega Forms became part Dragon. However, Gyarados never got this same treatment. If Pokemon could have triple typings, you can bet on these 2 gaining the Dragon type. Next we have an evolution line that could easily gain the bug typing, and that evolution line is Gligar's. Both Gligar and Gliscor are originated from scorpions, which are bugs, so it would only make sense for them to gain this typing. Heck, they're even known as the Fly Scorpion and Fang Scorpion Pokemon, so I wouldn't be too shocked if they were to be retyped. One Johto Pokemon that looks like a dragon type but isn't is its pseudo-legendary Tyranitar. Tyranitar currently has the dual typing of Rock and Dark, but to me it looks like it would fit in among other dragons. As well as this, Tyranitar's inspiration, Godzilla, is a giant monster that just looks like a dragon, so fair to say it would make sense. Lugia is another Pokemon that could have a triple typing, and as I'm sure most of you will agree, adding the water type to this Pokemon's current combination would make perfect sense. In the games and movies, Lugia has been known to have a strong link to the sea, and it can even swim underwater with ease, so why not give this legend the water type? Next up on this list we have the mythical Pokemon Celebi, and the extra typing I think it could gain would be the Fairy type. Since it's been around, this Pokemon has been known by fans as the Onion Fairy, and although this wouldn't be enough to gain it a new type on its own, there's more evidence for why it should be retyped to this. Looking at Celebi's origins, it says that this Pokemon is likely based on a fairy, and I mean looking at its design, isn't that obvious? So yeah, another strong candidate for a 3rd typing. Next up is the Pokemon that actually inspired this video, it's Flygon. For the longest time, fans of this Pokemon have agreed that it would be cool if this thing was also a bug type. And because of its design and its origin, I could definitely see this change being logical. Flygon is well known for being the Pokemon that was snubbed when it came to Mega Evolution. So if in the future food typings exist, it would only be fair that it became one of the mascots for this new feature. Another evolution line that I could see gain a new type would be the Lilipline. And can you guess what typing it would gain? Well, if you said water, ding ding ding, you're right. The reason I think this change to the Pokemon's typing would make sense is because at times when we've seen these Pokemon in the anime, they've been shown to thrive underwater. As well as this, these Pokemon are even based on sea lilies, which as you'd imagine are found in the sea. So why not give them the water type? It would be a great addition to an already cool combination. The legendary duo of Latios and Latias also earn a spot in this video, and the typing I think they could gain is flying. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. What's the point? These Pokemon already have Levitate. But I mean, just look at how handy they were with the soaring feature in Auras. They literally flew us around the Hoenn region, so gaining the flying type would be perfect for this duo. Next up, we have the Gen 4 Pokemon that is Drapion, and the typing I believe that it should gain is Bug. Don't be confused, as a Skorupi this Pokemon would have been part Bug type, but when it evolves it loses this type and replaces it with Dark. Even though Drapion is depicted as a villainous Pokemon which therefore warrants the type change, it's still based on a Scorpion, and I mean heck, it's even classified as the Ogre Scorpion Pokemon. So if any Pokemon were to gain a triple typing, it should be Drapion, and that typing would of course be Bug. The next Pokemon on this list, and the final legendary that I'll be talking about, is Giratina. Giratina debuted in Generation 4 of Pokemon as part of the legendary creation trio, and it currently has the great dual typing of Ghost and Dragon. However, due to this Pokemon's origins, I could definitely see it becoming part Dark type. A lot of people refer to Giratina as the devil of Pokemon, so it only makes sense that Game Freak should give it the Dark typing. As well as this, looking at some of Giratina's dex entries and how they mention violence, again, this isn't selling Giratina as an angel of a Pokemon, so adding the Dark type to its current dual combination would make perfect sense. Next up, I'll be talking about a Pokemon that upon evolution loses its water typing. It's Dragalge. You could argue that this Pokemon is rather forgettable, but for me, I'll always remember it as the Pokemon that loses one typing to gain an even cooler type. Upon evolution, this Pokemon becomes part Dragon, and don't get me wrong, this change makes perfect sense, but I mean, it still lives underwater. So if in the future triple typings do become a new feature, this Pokemon is a prime candidate to get 3 types. Another Pokemon that should gain the water type is Stunfisk, but the thing is, this time round, the Pokemon never was water to begin with. So why do I think Stunfisk should become part water type? Well, looking at its origins and what the Pokemon is based off of, it makes perfect sense. For those of you who don't know, Stunfisk is based on a flounder or a dab. Right, get that image off screen. Anyway, these real-life animals reside in the water, and I mean heck, Stunfisk has even been shown to live underwater in the anime on numerous occasions too. So at this point, Stunfisk, flat out, deserves a triple typing and to be part water type. Flat out. See what I did there? Next up, we have the Generation 7 Fire Starter Incineroar. And yet again, this Pokemon looks like it could have 3 typings. But the extra typing I think it could obtain is Fighting. I know that a lot of people got angry at the Fire Starters for becoming Fire and Fighting types, but in the case of Incineroar, it would make perfect sense. I mean, after all, Incineroar is inspired and based on wrestlers, so this time round, giving this Fire Starter the Fighting type would be logical. The final Pokemon I've chosen to obtain a triple typing is Delmise. And actually, instead of gaining one specific type, I think it could be between a choice of 2. Those types being Steel and Water. As it is, Delmise is a Ghost and Grass type. But looking at this Pokemon and its origins, I think it has the potential to take either of those types. But yeah, if triple types did exist, I think Game Freak would have a lot of choice when it comes to this Pokemon. But anyway guys, with all that being said, that pretty much wraps things up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Also, be sure to let me know of any other Pokemon that you think could gain extra types if triple typings were introduced down in the comments section. But with all that being said, for now, I've been PokeDan, you've been amazing, and I'll see you guys next time.